Reggae Just Extra with Ras Dennis.
Bob Marley's early years in the tough ghetto of Trench Town shaped his character significantly. He quickly learned to defend himself against the local toughs, earning the nickname Tuff Gong due to his impressive street fighting skills. In 1971, Tuff Gong became a record label established by Marley and his best friend and manager, Alan Skill Cole. Alan Cole, a former Jamaican soccer star and longtime friend of Bob Marley, was once accused of collaborating with Marley in a violent incident in Miami. It was claimed that Alan threatened Don Taylor with an Uzi submachine gun while Marley physically attacked him. However, Alan insisted that it was actually an AK-45, not an Uzi. This altercation followed Taylor's announcement that he would no longer work with Marley after being assaulted in Gabon. Other individuals who faced Bob Marley's wrath include Danny Sims of Cayman Music and Ted Powder, a sub-publisher who worked for Federal Recording Studio. Powder was responsible for paying Marley the royalties owed, but was threatened and beaten for failing to make the payment. Additionally, Winston Holness, better known as 90 the Observer, received punches for allegedly copying a song from Bob Marley.
We met him fight.
This is the untold story of Bob Marley as told by Ras Dennis. On December 3, 1976, Bob Marley survived an assassination attempt, thanks in large part to his manager, Don Taylor, who acted as a barrier between Marley and the assassins.
Don Taylor, his manager, he took most of the shots that were meant for Bob.
Almost 3 years later, in a hotel room in Gabon, Bob Marley confronted Don Taylor and assaulted him. This incident is thought to have inspired one of Marley's most famous tracks, Bad Card. To shed light on the tense climate of violence and uncertainties surrounding Bob Marley, Don Taylor was called to testify about the near-fatal shooting of December 3, 1976. During his testimony, Taylor explained that the assassination attempt was triggered by a mixture of political tensions and other factors. He mentioned Alan Cole, who had been involved in a rigged horse race at Kingston's Cayman's racetrack. People believed Bob was behind the scheme because Alan was seen driving Bob's car. Alan had fixed the race and left with the money, leading others to think that Bob must have financed it, as Alan didn't have that kind of money. Taylor further stated that the perception that Bob supported the People's National Party, combined with a lawsuit against Clement Dodd for failing to pay Bob, all contributed to the motive for the assassination attempt. Taylor also recounts an incident from Africa. He had been working with a promoter who had given him deposits for two artists, Bob Marley and Jimmy Cliff. His office issued separate receipts for each artist. When they arrived in Africa, the promoter expressed his desire to cancel Jimmy Cliff's show and requested a refund. Taylor said he told him, "You are crazy," and the promoter then found a way to deceive Bob Marley, claiming that the money he had given Taylor for Jimmy Cliff was actually meant for Marley. Unfortunately, Bob believed him, which led to a confrontation where he physically attacked Taylor in front of others at the Intercontinental Hotel in Gabon. This incident occurred in 1980 and marked the beginning of their issues. In a later confrontation, Taylor informed Bob that he had decided he would no longer work with him. His anger stemmed from feeling that Taylor alone had made him significant profits over the 6 years they worked together. Bob didn't take kindly to his defiance and called him one day to say, "Taylor, come over to the house. Let's work out our problems because I want you to continue working with me." Taylor went over to Bob's place, where he found Bob sitting by the pool. Bob said, "I hear you say you're not going to work for me again." Taylor replied, "Yes, I can't be bothered working for you." In response, Bob invited Taylor into the bedroom, saying, "I've got something I want to show you." Once inside the bedroom, Bob asked his secretary, Yvette Morris, to bring him a piece of paper that he had asked her to type. At that moment, Alan Cole entered the room with an Uzi submachine gun. According to Taylor, Bob wanted him to sign over all commissions, rights, and any claims he had. When Taylor refused, Bob physically assaulted him. Angered, Taylor went to the Miami police to report the incident. Alan Cole later shared his version of the story. He explained that Don was invited to Bob's mother's house for a discussion. Bob hadn't seen him in a couple of months, and it took some convincing for Taylor to come over. Eventually, an argument broke out in the room, and Bob shut the door. Things quickly escalated. Alan also acknowledged that there was a rifle, specifically a .45 automatic present, but he claimed he didn't point it at Taylor. Alan was further asked to testify about Bob Marley's tough behavior during the early 1970s, particularly how he got Bob Marley's records played on the air. He explained that it was challenging for Rastafarians to receive airplay unless they were affiliated with major record companies. They often had to exert considerable pressure on various disc jockeys and program directors. This sometimes involved intimidation, where they would threaten the personnel to ensure their records received airtime. Ted Powder, a sub-publisher who had worked for Federal Recording Studio, and Danny Sims from Cayman Music in Jamaica were among the victims of this pressure. Attorneys for both sides were fully aware that nothing could justify the menacing and violent behaviors exhibited by Bob Marley and his associates in their dealings with certain music publishing figures, and specific Jamaican disc jockeys. However, there were reasons for this behavior. Testimony during the trial revealed that a sense of desperation and desire for retribution, stemming from life in the ghetto, influenced Marley's actions. The rise of the musical culture of the sufferer in Jamaica led to intense conflicts between the impoverished Rasta musician and the Jamaican media establishment, which bordered on outright class warfare. Although Bob gained recognition outside of Jamaica, the upper and middle classes controlling the Jamaican airwaves had little appreciation for his mingled ditties. As Marley watched his music being repeatedly and systematically denied broadcast in his homeland, and as he saw his publishing revenues inexplicably withheld, he sought recourse through tactics reminiscent of the political tribalists, gangsters, and streetwise youths who had been his friends and adversaries since childhood. Ghetto bonds run deep, but somehow Marley had never trusted Alan with anything of consequence after Alan had almost gotten Bob killed in the crossfire of his '76 Caymanas mix-up. Alan was never again involved in Bob's songwriting either, and Bob didn't let him handle management chores. Henceforth Alan could tag along on tour, acting as an aide-de-camp while enjoying himself on Bob's tab. Don Taylor was another matter entirely. On the witness stand, Taylor put his own verbal spin on the 90s of Gabon. The fracas between Bob and Don in Gabon had centered on the fee that Don had told the Gong his band was getting paid $40,000. When it was subsequently reported to Bob by Gabon officials that $60,000 had been paid out to Taylor, the manager allegedly setting $20,000 aside for himself, that was when the shouting, the heating erupted. That's all for this episode, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and leave a positive comment in the section below, and I'll see you again very soon for another important video.
Many thanks for watching Reggae Just Extra with Ras Dennis.